So the last section of the homepage. So let's actually now just create a small section which will just showcase a testimonial from a recent client, let's say. So let's get straight on with that now. We're going to hit the plus button. It doesn't matter which direction because this is only going to have the one element in there. So I'm just going to choose the vertical flow. And then inside of here, all I want to do is come up here. We're going to drag in a testimonial widget. So testimonial, we're going to use the WordPress testimonial one, just drag that in like that. And now let's just add in some text. Let's actually come along to ChatGPT, why not? I want you to give me an example client testimonial of a recent website build using no more than 30 words. So let's just get this on there. I'll just copy that in. And again, you know, just ChatGPT is brilliant for whatever you need. It just does absolutely everything. The more context you give it, the better. So let's just say web development agency created a stunning website. Their team is professional, responsive, and delivered on time. Highly recommend. Oh, thanks ChatGPT. Such a nice review. So that's that taken care of. Let's just go ahead and add in an image. Now attached to this lesson is another folder. You can go ahead and download all of these images. We're going to upload those to our website. Let's go ahead and select all of them. Drop them in. Not sure why the testimonial background. Actually, yeah, that is a background that we're going to use for here. That's okay. Right, let's actually use any one of these testimonial images. I'm just going to select the first one. Let's select that and add that one in. Let's change the title. I don't know. Let's say that she's a director. Name. Let's give her a name. I don't know. Sophie Chang. Just completely winging this one. Let's just say that she is image position. Let's say she's director at what company does she work at? Better Life Design. That's one of my other companies. So director at Better Life Design, that's fine. Of course, you could add a link there as well. The alignment, I'm going to have the image position. Actually, I'm going to have that to the top and I'm going to align that to the center. Oh, and in fact, I will have it to the left. That's quite neat, actually. Now we're going to actually style it. So let's come along to style. Let's change that text color to, in fact, we're going to add a colored, a gradient background. So let's just change that to, we are going to use a white text there. But of course, to see that, we first need to give the top level parent container a background. So let's do that now so we can actually read our text. So let's select that parent container, the top level container, and then we want to come to style. We want to come to classic background, not classic. We want to come to gradient. Change that primary, change that first color to primary, second to secondary. Again, angle, I'm going to change that to 120. So it's angling from this corner down to the bottom right corner. So that is okay like that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually give this a fixed height here. So let's come along to the layout. Let's give it a min height of maybe 450. No, in fact, 500 will do. In fact, 550. Sorry, can't make my mind up today. 550 is okay. What I do want to do is I also want to justify or align that content. So within this container, let's come along to justify content in the center so that this moves down into the center there. So that is already starting to look a little bit better. Let's come back to our testimonial element here, and we can now start finishing off the styling. So let's change the typography to our text. And what I will do here is I'm just going to maybe make this a 1.1. No, in fact, 1.2 is okay. I could even make that a bit lighter. I'm going to make that a 300. That is okay. And what I'm actually going to do, no, that's actually okay. I think that looks quite good. Now, of course, the image, we could give this a border. Let's give this a solid border. Let's give it a thickness. Let's actually change that color to a white so that it has a white border. Or in fact, let's make that a little bit more transparent so it's a bit more like that. That maybe a 5 border radius would be better. So that is okay with the image. Let's come down to the name. Let's style this, give this a text color of white, typography of text. Then let's change that typography and make this a bit smaller so that it's not the default browser font size of 1. Let's maybe make this a 0.8. 400 again is okay, maybe 500 in this case. And again with the and the title, yeah, let's do exactly the same for the title. Make that white. Typography, we're going to change that to the text global, make that a 0.8 rem, 0.8, and then the weight here, going to make that 500. In fact, no, I'll leave that one as 400, that's okay. And that is our review. So that is a testimonial there. In fact, what we could do, come back to the content. I'm just going to add some brackets over that. Some speech brackets. And that is okay. So the only other thing now that I want to do, you'll notice that we have some other images there that we've just uploaded. And I'm just going to dot these sporadically around this section. So let's do that now. So what we want to do, we want to add an image. So let's come to image. We can drag that anywhere because we're going to change its position. So let's now choose the image. We're going to select any one of these testimonial images here. Let's go ahead and just make this a bit smaller. Under style, we'll change that width to a fixed pixel width. We'll maybe have that as, let's have a look, maybe 50. 50 is okay there. We could also add a border to this as well, like what we did before. Let's add a solid border of 5 and change that to white. Was it black with a opacity? I can't remember. It was actually white, wasn't it? We can see that is actually a square, which is annoying. So that image isn't a round image. That is frustrating. So maybe we're not going to add that around it because that image is actually square. So we would need that to be a round PNG image, which it isn't. So I'm not going to do that here. I'm actually going to take that border radius back off. That is absolutely fine. That's fine as it is. I'm just going to leave that man's little face there, and all I want to do is change the position of this now to advanced, and then we are going to select the position as absolute. So that's going to fly up into that top corner, and now we can drag it to where we want it. So I'm going to leave that there. Now I'm going to just duplicate that. So let's go ahead and duplicate. We can move this one over here. Just change that image to a different one that we have. And then I'm just going to duplicate that one. And I'm going to move this one maybe to here. I'm going to change that image to another face. Again, duplicate. Move that over to here. Let's change her to this face. How many images do we have? 4, that's right. So maybe I'll drag this one up there. So that's it. Looks something like that. And that is that pretty much. So we could also add, I think it is a PNG. Let's have a quick look. So the top level container, we have a background type here of this gradient, but I'm going to now change that as the overlay. So I'm going to do exactly the same there, just for the overlay is going to be this gradient. And let's change the first color to primary, second color to secondary. Let's change that angle to 120. Let's change the opacity to 100. Oh no, opacity maybe to 0.84 for now, just to see. Let's come back to the background. We want to change the classic, change the background type to classic. I'm going to see what it looks like with this image, which is just going to be some, well, I was hoping it was going to contain a few little round bits like what we see up here, but let's just change that to cover. And we can't see anything. Maybe that is because that overlay is too strong. So yeah, you can see that. So let's change that opacity of that to 0. In fact, we don't even need that, do we? Because it's not coming from the that background gradient isn't actually coming from our overlay, it's actually coming from our background. So I'm going to just leave that as it is. We can see that we've got those little dots speckled around again, and that is absolutely fine. So that is our testimonial section taken care of. Of course, you could give it a title as well, but that is just another element that we can play around with to make look really professional. So that is actually going to bring this lesson to an end. In the next lesson, we're just going to play around with some really cool transitions, some more motion effects that we can apply, so that we can really bring this page to life. As an agency, we want to showcase our skills and how creative we are, and we're going to do that with a few dynamic effects that we're going to implement in the next lesson.